Hey everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle. I'm here with Laura Heck. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. We're glad to have you. We're here today with a special guest. Her name is Julie Ruediger. Julie is a friend and colleague and mentor of mine, and I'm really excited that she and Laura get to meet each other. I'm glad that you guys get to meet Julie. We're talking today about the Relational Life Therapy Bootcamp, which is a 2-day workshop designed to help you get more connected to you, and then also more connected to your partner. It is a great workshop. Rebecca and I took it last summer. I'm really excited about it. I'll be teaching it 3 times in the fall. Julie and I are doing one together in Philadelphia in November. I'm doing another one in Minnesota in October, and then there's one that's online. If you want to learn more about the ones that I'm doing, you can go to marriagetherapyradio.com and find them there. And also, there are dozens of boot camps taking place all over the country and the world over the next few months, especially and into the next spring. You can go to Terry Real's website, look for the boot camp. All of those are offered by trained therapists and coaches who are doing a great job helping folks navigate through relational challenges and find paths forward to relational maturity. It's a really great workshop. I'm excited to talk to you about it. I'm excited to talk to Julie. Every time I talk to her, I get smarter, and I think you will too. So again, I'm excited to have Julie on. I'm excited that we're all chatting together because this is a very cool conversation. Stick around. You guys, I'm so excited. I'm here today with Laura, as usual. Hi, Laura.
That's me. Yeah. Hi.
Julie's here. Julie Ruediger is my friend and mentor in a lot of my RLT training, but she's also kind of like my big sister. So today is like Laura's my little sister and Julie's my big sister, and they're meeting for the first time, and I'm so excited. It's like Christmas in July, except it's August.
Immediately, I was like, oh, this is going to be good, because Julie's first comment was, oh, Zach, you've got your hoodie on. And I was like, oh.
Already talking smack.
That's what sisters are for, right?
I know. We
Check
poke
out their brother's wardrobe, right?
It's true. It's true. I just got back from a family reunion, and so I'm very familiar now with like the familial dynamics of how our family is just very spicy and picks on each other. And that is 100% what our relationship with Zach has been like. So I hope that you, as the big sister, can also represent.
You guys, you both know how momentous this is for me. I dropped Abby off at the airport this morning. She's gone. Goodbye.
Wow. How are you doing?
Good riddance. I'm doing great. I can't wait for the rest of the summer to roll out. No, it was great having her here, and she's delightful, but she needs to be in school and on her own. She's definitely ready to spread her wings, and our house is not big enough for her wings.
Did you make it clear that when she graduates that your home is not a place that she can come back to?
No, I can't do that. I'm married to Rebecca. That's
right. So you've got 9 months before she comes back.
But it's the reason I have my hoodie on, because I've already made an airport run this morning, and I didn't go swimming, and I didn't just crawl out of bed. I've actually been awake and at it for a little while. So
got it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
You look like you have like a construction worker's vest on.
Oh my gosh. Hold on. You guys, I'm going to stand up. You have to see this outfit. It's so darn cute.
It's a scarf. Oh yeah, that's your Canadian tuxedo.
That is pretty.
Isn't that so fun?
That is fun and lovely at the same time.
Thank you. It's fun and lovely. Yeah. My husband's really excited about it. We're going to get, I guess you can't tell. It's a onesie. What do you call that?
Like a romper.
It's an all denim romper.
Jumpsuit. It's a jumpsuit.
A jumpsuit. That's right.
That's what we called it in the 70s. Oh
my gosh. This is totally 70s. This is my opportunity. I get to meet Julie, which is great, because she said, I've heard a lot about you. And I was like, and I've also heard a lot about Julie as the big sister. And I was really curious if it was big sister because of maturity, which obviously I can see is the case, or if it was like age. But it's also because how did you guys find each other? How did you meet? Is it you have been training? Is that right? Or you trained Zach?
Yes. Well, I'm on faculty with Terry Real's Relational Life Institute, and part of our training is what we call small group mentoring. And Zach, as well as some group members, we met every week for 12 weeks, or every other week for 12 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And Julie told me, she said, you're not allowed to tell anyone this, but this is my favorite group I've ever had. And so we can edit that part out, but I just wanted to make sure it was known.
Just so you know,
says that to everyone.
No, you were my first group.
Well, that's not fair.
So it wasn't hard to say that. And you were pretty terrific. The group that Zach was in
we still meet once a month.
Yeah.
I have like a real genuine question. When you were training with Zach, it's so funny. I feel like I'm asking questions about your first date. What did you see in Zach that made you think, I wonder if he would be right for faculty? I wonder. What was it about him in particular?
Oh, well, yeah. And just so we know, Zach did get brought on, not only as a boot camp facilitator, which we'll talk about, but he just got hired to be one of our adjunct faculty.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Zach's very smart. I'll give that to him.
Thank you.
But more than that, there's a quality of a teaching quality to Zach. He's engaging, funny. Yesterday our mom would be Tuesday.
So proud.
Well,
we're so talented.
Tuesday, Zach and I actually did a group for the Institute, and there were some questions that Zach actually was able to answer that I couldn't answer, and he was very helpful, and I just think he's a good teacher. So, yeah.
I don't say very many nice things about Zach, but I do agree that there is a quality of teaching that is really nice, but also the way that he thinks about things is very complimentary, at least to me when we're a team, that if somebody was to ask a question, the way that he either reframes things or thinks about it in a metaphor or the words he uses to describe complex information is so unlike other people. So, Zach, that's going to be the one compliment that I give you today.
Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Listen, there might be some people who are listening to this podcast for the first time, and I just want you to know that Laura and I have deep, profound respect for one another, and that's part of why we get to tease each other. So that's why it's okay that I said that you look ridiculous, and it's okay that you only pay me one compliment a summer.
Yeah, because I know I look great, and you know you're fabulous, so it's fine. Yeah.
So Julie and I, we just became kind of friends. She was sort of saying, hey, what do you think about this? And you should try learning some more, training some more, getting involved some more. Then we went to Costa Rica, and that was a blast because you've heard us talk about Costa Rica, but Julie and I were basically kind of in this same little pod of people and kind of the only two people who were not with partners. And so we just kind of hung out and compared notes and talked about things. And so it just became really easy to decide to try to figure out if we could continue to work together. And so, yes, we're doing this boot camp in November
in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, because Julie is in Denver, but also Philadelphia from time to time. So, we're just
this is an in-person event?
Yeah, we're going to do an in-person one.
Okay. Can I just start diving in and asking questions about the boot camp? Okay. So I'm really curious, like the boot camp is what? Is it an experiential group thing? Is it for couples? Is it for individuals? Like, give me a little bit of background on what the boot camp is, and I'll kind of poke a little bit.
So Terry started doing the boot camp early in his career, Terry Real. He designed it. And in 2019, he decided he didn't want to do it anymore, that he wanted to teach other RLT practitioners to do it. So we all flew down, about 40 of us flew down to Mexico. Now, this is March 7th of 2020, okay? Does everybody remember that?
I remember that.
We fly down there. I remember when I got on the plane, 2 people had died in Colorado of COVID, 2 people. And we were all a little nervous. Well, we get down there, and by the way, it was fabulous. There was fabulous people down there. Terry and Belinda were down there. And for several days, we all got trained to be boot camp facilitators. And many of us were nervous if we were going to be able to come back because things were shutting down. We got back, and as you can imagine, when all these boot camps were always supposed to be in person, which they had been. And suddenly the paradigm changed. Only a handful of us out of that 40 decided to do them online. And so Dee Marcotte, who's a colleague here in Denver, and she had done many boot camps, some with Terry actually, we did some online for a couple of years. And in some ways it was great because, people didn't have to get childcare. People could be at home and comfortable. And as all of you have discovered, online therapy workshops are actually now considered very normal. And so we did some successful boot camps, but we finally, Dee and I finally did a couple here in Denver in the last couple of years, and it's such a different feel. I don't think that, I think you can get a lot out of an online boot camp, but I think the in-person ones are kind of special.
Yeah.
So Rebecca and I did it online.
Zach
We did ours. I don't know. I guess it was last summer, and it was fine. I mean, I think it's the cool thing, and Laura and I teach plenty of them online. I think online is fine, obviously, but relationships are inherently human, and as human as you can make them, the better. So yeah, there's been this obviously lifting of all of that online sort of COVID restriction lockdown situation, and there's a lot more of them that are in person. So but yeah, it's
so this
2 day,
is intended. Okay, 2 day,
2 day gig
2 days
that you come with either your partner or as an individual. I love that. It's actually kind of structured that you can kind of come and it's not strictly reserved for couples. We had plenty of singles in our boot camp, and it actually complemented and enhanced the experience for us. And you're just kind of going through it a bit. And Julie, I'll let you talk a little bit about what you're factually going through.
I liken it to, psychotherapy and couples counseling can be very helpful, but this 2 day workshop actually kind of consolidates and makes accessible all the principles and all the tools that we teach over several therapy sessions. So if you do a boot camp, you're actually coming into couples therapy with the knowledge and even the practicing of the skills. So some of the things we talk about are communication skills. We talk about boundaries, self-esteem. We also spend quite a bit of time on what we call the adaptive child. And if you recall with Terry's, you've interviewed Terry, and he talks about the adaptive child. And Zach has quoted this. Other models teach you what to do. This model addresses the part of you that doesn't want to do them. Or do the skills. And we all have I call it the inner teenager. I like to use that term. It's that immature part of us that when we're triggered, the last thing we want to do is be quiet and listen and not be right. Right.
You guys, this morning I dropped Abby off at the airport to go back to school.
Yeah.
And Rebecca and I, she's like, Zach, you have one job all summer. You just literally have one job, which is not to engage your inner teenager. Do not do not lose your stuff. Do not lose it. You can't lose it while Abby's in town. And because, our families provoke and invite our adaptive child more than anybody. And so but I did it. I dropped her off. I did not lose my temper one time this summer. I came close twice. But Rebecca and I, we buffered ourselves and buffered each other against some of that triggering. So
that is so funny.
But we actually use
this
language. We use AC adaptive child language to help us do that, right? Like we have coded it a little more subtly as we are wont to do. Like we don't just like, oh, your adaptive child is acting up, but we have these we have these codes that we have adopted largely because of our experience at the boot camp, kind of understanding what's going on when we start to want to spin out. Anyway,
I just want to kind of go back a little bit because we're kind of getting the format of what this boot camp is, but you just said something about the adaptive child. And for people who don't know RLT language, they've never done any sort of parts work. Can you guys just briefly explain, like, what is the adaptive child? Where does it come from? And why does it show up?
Yes. So essentially, we come into this world and we have this very young part that we actually call the wounded child. Now, we don't really talk about the wounded child in the boot camp, but that's kind of that 5-year-old who's defenseless and just is kind of making his or her way in the world. And then we start developing what we call strategies, adaptive strategies to be okay. And we all have it. I mean, you can grow up in a really lovely, loving, healthy family, but the world is full of pain and suffering, and we get knocked around a little bit in the world. And so, if I have a loving family, but I'm getting bullied at school, I'm going to come up with these strategies to be okay. And this gets locked in our brain. I mean, all of this, if we could frame it around brain science, our subcortical brain, our hippocampus, our amygdala, all of this gets stored. And I call it the relationship smoke alarm. So when I'm triggered, the smoke alarm goes off. Now, if you all know, a smoke alarm doesn't care if there's a real fire. It's just smoke, heat,
That's right.
smoke, heat. So if my best friend stands me up for lunch and I've got some history around being left or abandoned, my smoke alarm's going to go off. And unless I know how to regulate that, I'm going to do all sorts of what we call adaptations to deal with that tend to be immature and not in support of the relationship. Now, we don't see the adaptive child as the enemy. It's not like we're trying to get rid of it. A lot of people are like, how do I get rid of my AC? Like, no, it's part of you. And there's a lot of gifts for our adaptive child. But we have to understand it. And what Terry calls it, the whoosh, that's the smoke alarm in my, if we are aware of how we are whooshed in our nervous system, and first of all, we can't control that. We can't control that. Then we have what we call relational mindfulness or second consciousness, which is take a breath, take a time out. We talk about that in the boot camp. How do we come into a relationship from what we call the wise adult, which is that prefrontal cortex, and actually behave in a way that keeps us connected to our partners and to our friends and family? I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Zach.
No, I'm going to say a smoke alarm doesn't care if there's a real fire or not. I'm stealing that. But it's totally true. Like even if we just stick with my little anecdote about Abby, like she's really not doing things that are problematic. She's just evoking things in me that poke at all my insecurities about being a bad dad or being a white man in a woke world. I mean, like just all of this stuff. And yeah, it was like work to just take a deep breath every now and again and go remember who I'm dealing with, which is not someone who is trying to harm me. It's just someone who's trying to figure out how to grow up themselves. And our little growing up parts are not perfectly aligned. And so I took a lot of deep breaths this summer.
Okay, so I have to ask, because you talked about RLT is the modality of therapy that teaches you the tools that, how did you say it? Because it's like there's therapy, which is you have access to the tools, it teaches you the tools, and RLT teaches you, what was the differentiation?
It
when you don't have access?
It explores and teaches about the part of you that doesn't want to do it or isn't capable of doing it. So we assume, and the first day of the boot camp is we talk a lot about, like I said, boundaries, self-esteem. Where do we go when we're triggered? We have we all have a move. Like when I get triggered, I kind of shut down and hide. When Zach gets triggered, what? Where do you go, Zach?
I'm one up and walled off. So go
so
up.
We're both on that side. Yeah. So we learn about that, but what we also learn is, where does this come from? Because part of RLT is we're not trying to pathologize or make the AC the bad thing. We just want to understand it. And the way that we do RLT is we help these parts of our brain get integrated. It's almost like we're parenting our inner teenager, right? Yeah. And we set limits with our inner teenager. And so what we do in the boot camp is, by the end of the first day, people have a real sense of what that is. We have them write a letter to their adaptive child that the night of, and then they come back on the next day. And sometimes that's the most powerful part of the boot camp people aren't required to read their letter, but when people do, there's often tears and people are very moved. And then we spend the rest of the day on how to cultivate this connection with tools. And, how do we keep this going? And so when people leave the boot camp, there's a couple of things we want them to have. We want them to have an understanding of why this is so hard. And it's because of our nervous system and our histories, and also what to do about it, the skills that you can use to employ it. And it's not a cure-all, but I've had couples who came in and they were done, or they were about to be done. And the boot camp completely shifted their desire to keep working, because they finally had some kind of resource and support to help them make sense of their struggle and what they can do differently.
Yeah, I think what they had, or what they get, or what I find a lot of times with couples that are at the brink, or who can't, or who just feeling like I can't do it with this person anymore, is that the model invites you to think about, okay, what other people might be here? Like the other people that may be here are the wounded part of you, the adaptive part, or the other people that might be here are the two of those. And so when you invite the wise part, even just internally, it's like an internal piece of work that you have to do. Now, two people can revisit whether or not they want to do this, because I'm willing to do this with two wise adults in the relationship. I can't do it with these adaptive strategies, or while you're moving in this sort of haphazard way. I have a question for you, Julie, because as you started talking about the wise adult and getting in touch with that and writing a letter, I know plenty of people who are going to be like, oh, that sounds so hokey, and
really
I don't want to do
woo-woo.
that, and woo-woo and all that stuff. But how do you, soften or protect or invite people to appreciate that it's actually, I don't know. What do you do with that? What do you do with that resistance,
Request?
that particular style of resistance, which is, I'm not doing this like adaptive childhood stuff. I don't need
Yeah. Well, the letter is different than therapy. A letter is a personal and it's a private invitation to explore your history. Now, we say at the beginning of the boot camp, there's a pass rule. You can sit quietly for 2 days and not do a thing if this feels uncomfortable.
We have one of those.
The irony of this is I have yet to have, and I've done several boot camps, I've yet to have anybody refuse to do the letter. Now, people don't necessarily like to read their letter, and most people don't, which is understandable. The other part of this is, and Zach, you'll appreciate this, and I say this to my couples. When people enter into some kind of therapy or counseling to address their relationship issues, if they're honest, what they want is their partner to change. They feel like I'm fine. I just want him to change. I just want her to change. I just want them to change. Yeah. What we stress in RLT and in the boot camp is that ultimately the only person we can change is ourselves. So the focus is very much on doing your own work. And Terry has a great concept called relational integrity, where if I am reacting to someone's immoderate behavior, like somebody's being a jerk, and I stay in my wise adult without kind of bringing it on, getting in the gutter, then it's a good day for me, not so great day for the relationship, and a bad day for them. We really stress that it's our work that is the first thing that we do, and we're inviting our partners to do it with us. It's up to them to do their work. And I think by the end of the 2 days, people have a sense of what it is that I have to do to show up in this relationship, to be a wise adult with my children, to be a wise adult with my employees. It's very broad if you think about it in bigger terms.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about that, Zach?
Well, Laura will know, and you may recognize part of what the appeal to me is of the RLT model is exactly that. Like I've been saying for, I don't know, maybe 5 years, 4 years, how much I believe that doing your individual work is the first and most important part of doing any any reparative work in your relationship world, particularly in your committed relationship. So that's actually kind of why I love, like, we benefited from, like, we had one guy who was an individual in our workshop who was there, and he was there almost in spite of his marriage. He was like, I'm here because she wouldn't come, but that doesn't mean I can't do my stuff.
Yeah.
And so he went back, and I haven't followed up with him. I don't know anything about what he went home to or how that's transformed, but I love that he was just like, I know what my job is. My job is to take care of me and to do what I can on this side. And I think that it sets up real nicely for that, for folks that are wanting to do work inside their relationship, but also folks that maybe their relationship isn't ready for a couples workshop.
I'm just differentiating in my mind things that are different from the RLT bootcamp than from what we have done with Gottman. And one thing that we don't do that I do know that Terry does is, like, they take sides. And that is something that I have always kind of danced around and felt like it just didn't fit in therapy when I'm working with a couple. And it's very clear that one person, I'm just going to use some RLT language, which I'm going to screw up because that's not my modality, but I'm learning more about it, might, be in their adaptive child at that moment. And it's hard, I would say, to have a session where it's like, we're just going to focus on you today. But I really appreciate that RLT is willing to say, you can take sides, you can focus on one person and what they're showing up as. And I guess in the previous modalities that I have used, you try to be so balanced, but sometimes it's just not balanced. Sometimes you just have one person that is, showing up with these adaptive strategies.
Well, in RLT, we call it care-frontation, okay?
Care-frontation, I love that.
Yeah. And, we're always balancing safety with stress, because the brain doesn't change unless there's some stress, which we would call motivation.
Interesting.
And safety is required to create a container for someone to be able to hear the truth. Like, Terry's really about, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. I love saying, here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is you're a good guy, or you're a terrific mother, and I know you love your kids and your husband. I just absolutely feel that in my heart. Bad news is what you're doing is creating unnecessary suffering and disconnection with your partner. And I'm here to help you understand that. Your behaviors are actually what we would call unrelational behaviors, immoderate behaviors. And it's really hurting the relationship. And we see the dynamic as the client in RLT. So I have a couple where she's pretty sensitive. She's got kind of a sensitive boundary, and he's kind of loud and so if he had married a loud person, their dynamic would be very different. And if she had married a quiet person, their dynamic would be very different. I have to work with how to be sensitive to each other's sensitivities, and also to work with your own, how you're taking things in. So it's Terry has said this, it's respectful to tell people the truth, but you do it in a way that they can hear it. And motivation, if you don't have motivation, you're not going to want to change something that feels good. And usually when we're yelling and screaming at our partners and we feel entitled to it, it does feel good. And so we really have to work on what's the consequence of that, right? I don't know, Zach, do you want to say anything more about taking sides and
well, no,
all that
I
good
mean,
stuff?
I don't want to say anything. I just want to keep asking questions because I just get smarter every time I talk to you. But you said something the other day that I don't think I'd heard before, which maybe it was Jules's, but this idea that people don't change if there's too much stress or too much safety. Like, can you speak a little bit to that tension, like the balance between stress and safety?
So safety can look like a lot of different things. Let's say I have a couple and one partner has an addiction. Now, we all know addictions are really difficult to tackle and change, but the partner is doing everything they can to create what we would call some enabling. And that's what we would call safety. So
Yeah.
partner A, who
Too much
maybe
safety in that case. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a couple where the ex-wife was really, really difficult. The financial stress, the parenting stress, all of it was so big that for them to really do the work was really hard. And I named that for them. So safety is either enabling what we call misery, stabilized ambiguity, which is nobody's really rocking the boat, even if they're miserable. Like something has to shift. If I get on the scale and I've gained 5 pounds, if I get on the scale and I've gained 10 pounds, boy, I'm motivated, right? So there has to be something that is either positive leverage, which is I've got a family reunion, I want to shed these 5 pounds, so I'm going to work my butt off, or negative leverage, which if I don't stop drinking, my partner might leave me. And so now we're talking right now about the model of RLT. The boot camp is not a 2-day therapy session. We really just cover the concepts. People can be transformed by it. People can really learn from it. Often people will go after the boot camp and they'll get back into couples therapy and just have somebody to help them keep practicing the tools.
I would say what it is though is it's a container that is both very safe and stressful. Like there's a fair bit of there's a lot of safety and enough stress that you can explore change, and I think that's what I like about that tension, because I really do appreciate that if there's not enough safety or not enough stress, that's problematic, and if there's too much of either, that's problematic. And this is like a little oasis in your world, in your weekend, in your year, whatever, where there's like kind of just enough of both. So it's a dynamic that I really appreciate.
I do want to ask a little bit about like who is the right type of couple or individual to come to this? Is there a way of screening out and saying this boot camp is not going to be the right fit for you? So how would someone know if they're listening to say, yep, this sounds like a perfect fit for my relationship or a perfect fit for me, but is there a screening process?
I've done some screening, particularly when I get a call from a partner who's describing a very, very difficult situation. And I've had couples come in, and I can feel it. I very much check in with my body on the energy of the room. I can tell which partners don't want to be there. Like they don't even have to say it, right?
Sure.
And basically, again, there's a pass rule. I don't know what it was like for you, Zach, if you saw some of that. But what I'm always surprised, or at least struck by the end of the 2 days, people come back, and even if they're just curious, right? Or even if it's just, let's try this, and if this doesn't work, let's call it. I think unless you've got a partner who's using drugs or alcohol, unless you've got a partner who's isn't cognitively able to kind of understand the concepts, we don't turn anybody away. Zach, do you remember anybody at the boot camp that you were in that they just didn't seem like they should be there? And people will leave if they don't want to be there. By the way,
that's true. I do know stories of people who have opted out, like kind of midway through or halfway. But the other thing that I was thinking as you were talking is the guy that was in our boot camp who probably was least, like we were all kind of like, what is this guy doing here? Like, what the heck is going on? And why is and we really didn't know. He ended up being the guy at the end who had like the most profound reflection on his experience, and I almost think about it like the way kids might talk about like summer camp. Like they go there and they don't want to be there and they're pretty resistant and they're hiding. And then that kid ends up being like the king of camp because he came out on the last day as the one who finally grabbed the flag off the rock or something. Like there's this. I think I've sort of witnessed that experience or heard tales about that a little bit more often than somehow it didn't work for somebody. I mean, and the reality is if somebody's going to leave, that's probably best anyway because they're not ready to do the work that they need to do. Like But yeah, I think I'm just thinking about what you were saying, and that the one guy that we thought like kind of just didn't belong ended up being the king of the boot camp that weekend.
That does happen. And usually because they might come in with very low expectations and suddenly you're like, wow, this is really interesting. And they might be the one that finds it the most gratifying.
So I think what I'm hearing you say is that it's okay to have a couple come where one partner is so bought in, so motivated, is ready for the experience, ready to turn inward, learn about themselves, and their partner is just showing up. It is okay to have a partner who says, I'm going to come because I know you want this. I don't necessarily want it for myself, because that transformation could happen in the process where they might pick up some skills. They might have a moment of ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what I was going to say is it's also different, Laura, as you're just talking about that, is it's very easy in the workshop that we have typically done for one partner, if they opt out, to sort of sabotage the entire weekend in the art and science of love, because there's all this reliance on, we're doing this together, we're doing this.
It's very dyadic. Yes.
I think that's not the case here, where if one partner decides to phone it in, the other partner can still like lean in fully, get tons of stuff done. Like there's enough opportunity to interact with other people, which, and so, like I said, I've seen plenty, not plenty, but in the case where like one guy came kind of in spite of his partner, that can happen even inside the weekend. You wouldn't want it to, but like you could totally come and get everything you need as an individual, even on behalf of your relationship, and it doesn't require your partner to show up with the same amount of enthusiasm.
There's a power in the group too. I kind of watch kind of the arc of the 2 days, and there'll be people that are more comfortable to share. It's not therapy, but we do.
There'll be plenty of Hermione Grangers in the room.
Yeah. We invite questions. We have some breakout groups where people like work on things not with their partner. There's actually a couple of times where you're meeting with other people. What happens is that container, as Zach calls it, just starts to be more relaxed, and people realize, and they sometimes just forget about us, and they're more focused about each other. And I've seen, especially guys, I haven't tracked this like, in a data set, but I have found that the guys tend to read their adaptive child letters more than the gals. And if one guy reads it, another guy will read his, and then another guy. Now, again, nobody's required to do anything like that. Yeah. So there is some safety around you. You get to choose what you participate in. You get to choose what you share. If you need to take a break, all of that is fine, and it doesn't disrupt the group. Not really, not at all.
Yeah.
Wow.
We had a young couple who were clearly in the infatuation stage, who were just all over each other like the whole time.
I love that.
We had to, ask them to maybe dial that back. It was becoming a little distracting. But he actually was one of the at the end, we go around and we ask people to share. And he's a young guy. He actually was one of the more open, and transformation might be too strong, but he acknowledged how much he had learned. And I had a lot of hope for this couple, because they were doing this before the disharmony started, right?
Yeah.
So they had all these tools.
Yeah.
I do love that as part of the group dynamic is being in a group setting with all different types of generations and being able to glean confidence, vulnerability, authenticity from generations where it's been made more acceptable for them to show authentically. So that's pretty special that you have younger couples that are coming. And you answered my question, is this a boot camp that is appropriate for proactive couples who are still in the infatuation, limerence stage, rather than really saying we're stuck, entrenched, and we can't get out, we need help. It's okay for folks to come and say, we just want to make sure we've got the tools to move forward.
Oh my gosh, if we could replace premarital counseling with just sending them to a boot camp, wouldn't that be a better world, Zach?
I think that is the ultimate I would say like gift that you can give to a premarital couple is rather than buying them china that they're never going to use, send them to a boot camp that is going to be a lasting tool thing that they can use the entire relationship.
They should put that in their wedding registry, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
People can like put money in to pay for it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, I would love that. Can I just ask, be out of curiosity, this is 2 days, it's in Philadelphia, it's in person, you can go as an individual, you can go as a couple. What is the price point on something like this? Does it change based on
Laura,
who's doing it?
It's not polite to talk about money in public.
But
and I'm just kidding.
Yeah. There's actually a couple of structures you can go on to Terry's website and my website, terryreal.com, and click on boot camp. The boot camps have different levels of pricing. Ours is a little bit on the low side, and if you register early, you get a little bit of a break. But it works out. I think it works out around $500 per person, and it's basically $250 a day for a workshop
per person, which is about, by the way, what Zach charges for one session with him for less than an hour. Just saying,
it's all over the place because it kind of like the boot camp's been outsourced to individual practitioners or whatever. So it depends on how much they're spending on the venue and whether or not it's online and whether or not.
So it's not the same across the board.
No.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go on, if you go on Terry Real's website and you click on boot camps, because he's got it in there. There's boot camps all over this country, and different practitioners charge different amounts. And so,
I will say this.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just add this part because I know that you and I both care about this, is that as part of the Relational Life Institute is the Relational Life Foundation. And the foundation they exist to provide RLT to folks who can't afford like traditional therapy or traditional like price points. And so if you're interested in it and you're limited financially, the foundation offers boot camps. That's the online one I'm doing. I'm doing it for the foundation.
Wow.
So folks that want a little bit or need maybe a little bit more financial aid or help, you can always go to the foundation's website, and they have a series of boot camps that are offered throughout the year, mostly because they want to try and provide access to people who can't get to it. But those wouldn't generally be in person either.
Well, and the other thing is, I do liken it to several hours of couples work. And so if you're spending money on couples therapy, and for most couples therapists, there is an hourly fee that would line up with a day of learning all these skills. So I think it's worth it. And I'm glad Zach brought this up. I did a couple boot camps for the foundation as well, and we were able to make sure that the individuals could afford it. So there's different avenues to go to.
That's so great. And I just looked up the website too. So it's the relationallifefoundation.org or relationallife.com. And those are the two different websites where you can find out more information about the boot camp.
Actually, terryreal.com, I think, is where you want to go on to get the boot camp information. Because he has a section for couples and he has a section for therapists. And if you go on the couple section and drop down, it'll say boot camps, and it'll show all the boot camps that are all over the country.
Cool. Well,
and
that's
they're
exciting.
all over. Yeah.
Well, now I'm in a rabbit hole of looking at terryreal.com, and I have to refocus. I got squirrely for a second.
Yeah.
I do think we should probably land this plane because we have some meetings coming up. What is your guys's, so the two of you are teaching in Philadelphia in November. Do you know, so like where would they go specifically? Is that Terry Real where they would go to register for that workshop, that boot camp?
Easiest place to go is marriagetherapyradio.com.
Okay.
And that will have the link to actually every boot camp I'm doing in the fall. I'm doing one online for the foundation. I'm doing one in Minnesota, and I'm doing one in Philadelphia with Julie. And so all of those are available. Julie's site is hosting the registration page. That's julieruediger.com. Yeah. julieruediger.com.
Yeah.
It's
and then Terry's has it listed.
Rudiger.
Correct. And if you go on, again, if you go on to terryreal.com and maybe you're listening to this and you're in California and you want to do a California boot camp, just go on terryreal.com, pull down the boot camps and see where they all are. It depends on the time, like some weekends people can't do. So I think we're at 9 and 10, November 9th and 10th, right? Right.
That's you and I. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only other thing is I think, and Julie, tell me if I'm wrong about this. The terryreal.com doesn't list online ones.
Right.
If you're doing it online,
right.
It only lists the in-person ones. So maybe the foundation is the place to go for ones that are online.
I think there's only 2. I think there's only 2 right now that are
so
online.
far.
And Desiree Isasi might have an online listed on the bootcamp on terryreal.com. She might have slipped that in.
Yeah, she's fancy.
Yeah,
she's our boss.
She's our boss. She has certain privileges. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for having me on today.
Oh, no, gosh, this was so fun. I'm so glad that you guys finally met each other, and I'm glad that we were able to have you come and explain the boot camp.
Yeah.
I've been kind of champing at the bit to learn more about it. So I was like, we're going to have to get you an expert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring in the big sister expert. Julie, it was so nice meeting you. I'll hear more about this. I can't wait for Zach to dig in and see how his fall of boot camps go. And if you guys, our listeners, ever have any questions, send it to info@marriagetherapyradio.com, and Zach can answer any of the questions that you might have about these upcoming boot camps, get you to the right place. Julie, is there a place where people can reach out to you directly, or how you'd like to receive questions?
They can email me through my website, julieruediger.com. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
That's an easy way to reach me. Okay.
Great. And we'll include that link on our show notes as well, so they can just go to that and click on it.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's land this plane, folks. We'll get on with our Thursday afternoon. Bye, guys.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thanks to you both. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. We mentioned a lot of different websites. Check out our show notes if you want to find that. But just wanted to give you the website that will give you all of the boot camps that are coming up. It's terryreal.com, terryreal.com. That's where you'll find information about all the boot camps that are happening around the nation, either virtual or in person. Thanks for all of your time and attention, making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.